We'll keep that moving with quarterbacks here on Love Hate.
You know who else should watch the draft marathon?
Liam Hemsworth?
And the two of you. After I crushed you guys, go to NBC Sports. In all seriousness, go to NBCSports.com, go to rotoworld.com, and look at our Superflex mock draft that we did, where I literally crushed you guys. I'm impressed, honestly, because Damien and I were talking before the show, and we said, do you think Connor and Jay will show up? Or do you think they just quit? Do you think they just retired? Do they pull a Corey Davis and they're just like, I'm out? And
release a note on Instagram.
Yeah,
it's a really nice
really
year.
Heartfelt. Yeah, exactly. I love it. I'm just gonna
spend time with the family.
Right, exactly. Yes. I'm gonna go back to SNY and just
I had fun.
Take that as
what a stray.
That's down the drain.
Yeah. All right.
Cut to Corey Davis on the desk next to you at SNY.
Oh, man, God. Love, hate quarterbacks, starting with Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Lamar got the monster extension this year, did miss plenty of time last year, but Barry, we know what he's capable of in fantasy when he's healthy, and you have to love the addition of Todd Monken calling the plays in Baltimore.
Last year in his 11 full games, and what I think most people thought was a down year, he still averaged over 21 fantasy points per game. This is last year again, and now you're right. They think about all the additions that they've made to Lamar Jackson. They have added Todd Monken, who is a much more fantasy-friendly offensive coordinator. They have drafted Zay Flowers. They have signed Odell Beckham Jr. They obviously have Mark Andrews. They have a second-year Isaiah Likely, and of course, hope springs eternal for me with Rashad Bateman. They've all of a sudden got a lot of weapons for a guy that just made one of the highest paid people in professional sports. And so, look, again, I'm a QB4, but number one quarterback in fantasy is well within the range of outcomes for Lamar Jackson. And I have him, in terms of my overall ranks, much closer to Mahomes, Hurts, Allen than where he's going in drafts.
Jay, I want to jump right over here to Justin Herbert to go through the quarterbacks here. And, this is someone that everybody thought would take the massive leap last year. It felt like he was held back at times by some of the very static play calling. Now they bring in Kellen Moore. They draft Quentin Johnston. They solved all the issues with Austin Eckler with the contract to get him back into the fold. Is this the year that Herbert, who's QB6 for Barry and on the love list, does make that big jump?
I think the expectations should just be what his 2021 season was, where he had over 5,000 yards, 38 passing touchdowns, and then also gave you a little bit on the ground as well. And then last year, he had a broken rib. His best lineman, Rashawn Slater, was out pretty much for the whole season. And then Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they're both banged up. Just on average, he's just going to get more health at that position, particularly from Herbert himself. And I think that with the new offensive coordinator, he is set to, he could absolutely be the top 2 quarterback in fantasy.
1,000%. We talk about this. If you don't run, if you don't have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen-like rushing ability, you need to have 35 to 40 passing touchdown upside, and Justin Herbert has that. Under Kellen Moore, who's going to be more aggressive. Dak Prescott, who I don't think is as good a quarterback as Justin Herbert. I think there's actually a decent gap there. Dak Prescott was top 5 in touchdown rate each of the past 2 seasons under Kellen Moore, and so I agree with you. Him being the number 1 quarterback in fantasy wouldn't be shocking, but top 2 quarterback in fantasy is very much in play for Justin Herbert.
He was QB2 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right. We've already seen it, but I guess continuing.
Fantasy managers just have such a short memory. That guy burned me last year. And it's just with less experience and a lesser cast around him, the guy was still a top 2 fantasy quarterback. And now he's got a better play caller, more weapons around him, and more experience.
Let's just say him fail without a fractured rib. That's all. Yeah.
Let's go.
Another young player that we saw take a massive jump from week 6 and on last year was Trevor Lawrence. During that stretch, he was QB6 in points per game, Barry. He makes the love list and comes in as QB8. And with Lawrence, maybe can unlock even more rushing this year as well.
Yeah, I think so. Look, there are only 3 quarterbacks last year that had over 4,000 passing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. Josh Allen, you've heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Burrow, you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Both of them, by the way, proud FantasyLife.com investors. And the third person is not, but that's Trevor Lawrence. Anytime you can be on a list with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, that's pretty good if you're an NFL quarterback. And so, again, we just sort of trying to project the future. He's my QB8, but he's certainly also got top 5 fantasy upside. He was on my short list of becoming my ride or die this year. second year in Peterson's system. He has all of his skill players back, obviously, with Kirk and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram. They add Calvin Ridley as well. Again, look at his head coach. Former NFL quarterback, former Andy Reid disciple, guy who made Nick Foles a thing. And now he's got Trevor Lawrence. Like, again, last year was just about Doug Peterson being like, all right, I'm just trying to scare all the Urban Meyer out of you. I just got it. You were broken, and all I've got to do is now I've got to fix you. And so you start towards the second half of the year where the light sort of went on, and it just like so. But now another year in this system with all the skill players around him, like I'm a big believer in Doug Peterson as kind of a quarterback whisperer, as an offensive mind. Like we've seen him do it with much worse quarterbacks than Trevor Lawrence. You know, Duval, baby.
Yep.
My Swaguars.
Your Swaguars.
My Swaguars.
Shouldn't have jumped off the bandwagon.
You really shouldn't have.
A little
They
early.
came back and won the division.
Yeah.
That's all right. Get him next time.
A
Next
rookie
time.
quarterback on the list here, Jay Anthony Richardson, who we've talked about on this show plenty because Barry has been higher on him as QB 12. I think he's been kind of coming off the board, quarterback 15 to 16.
Yeah.
The last we discussed him. And with Richardson, you have a little bit of the turmoil, of course, with the Jonathan Taylor situation, but we know what this guy could do with his legs, and we know his head coach in Shane Steichen worked wonders with Jalen Hurts over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and there's one number that stands out to me with Anthony Richardson, which I don't think is talked about enough. 393. That's the amount of passing attempts he had in college. CJ Stroud had 830. We just don't know what this guy is yet. And I think from a fantasy perspective, that's exciting because he has so much more upside because there is so much more unknown where he's going to take, I think at least he has more potential to take bigger strides than guys like Stroud and Young who are more known.
I'm going to list some names of people that are going ahead of him on Yahoo just to give you an idea of how insane this is. Mac Jones is being drafted ahead of Anthony Richardson. Jimmy Garoppolo is being drafted ahead of Anthony Richardson. Aaron Rodgers, like I get it, Aaron Rodgers is a big name, but I like my chances with Anthony Richardson and that one. Like Cousins and Geno Smith, okay, I get those, but like, come on, man. Like Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, like, look, there's a wider range of outcomes for Anthony Richardson than there are for a lot of the other guys on this list. There's no question about it. But for me, my argument here with Anthony Richardson is that if it hits, it's going to hit in a really nice big way. And if it doesn't hit, because my rankings are designed for kind of default leagues, which are one quarterback leagues, 10, 12 team quarterback, one quarterback leagues, the replacement cost isn't that much.
Go get Jared Goff.
Yes. Jared Goff, like Kirk Cousins, honestly, Kenny Pickett, who I think is going to be good. You know, future MVP Sam Howell. Like there's lots of guys
CFL?
out there. Sam Howell. Yeah.
Okay.
Who'd you say?
CFL MVP Sam Howell?
Stop.
Sorry,
Oh,
he hasn't
God.
been. No, that was rude. That
Steffi,
was mean.
you take that back.
That was rude. I take it
That's
back.
me.
I'll
Thank
walk it
you.
back.
One thing on Richardson, I
Yeah.
think,
Kangaroo
is that
jumped that back. Go
his
ahead.
rushing, much like rookie year Josh Allen and rookie year Lamar Jackson, sets a fantasy floor for him. That is being overlooked. That's my biggest, problem with his ADP, in my opinion. That there's a good floor there for him because of his rushing.
Right, especially, by the way, when you think about the coach, and there's a chance, as we talked about at the top of the show, like Jonathan Taylor might not be there. And if Jonathan Taylor isn't there, he becomes the betting favorite to lead that team in rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, like, I don't know what his odds are right now, but like,
He would be the favorite.
yeah, he would be the favorite.
All right, kicking off the quarterback
told I have
hate
to wrap
list.
here.
Dak Prescott, who we know, we highlighted earlier with Justin Herbert how much Kellen Moore meant to Dak Prescott being effective in fantasy. Jay, Dak Prescott kicks off the hate list here for Barry, coming in all the way
Are we
down
not doing
the
others
list.
receiving votes?
No,
We're
we
blowing past that?
have
I
been
talked too long.
We talked too
Steven
long.
blew that off. Steven.
Falling all the way in at QB 16 for Dak.
Well, I don't understand why you hate Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott 2021, when he was last healthy, 4,449 passing yards, 37 touchdowns. I think Zeke Gorn actually helps Dak a little bit more because Pollard will be more utilized in the passing game. And I don't know. I understand change an offensive coordinator, but they ran the ball a fair bit last year anyway. So why don't you like Dak?
Under 15 fantasy points in 6 to 12 games last season. He had only 4 games with 20-plus fantasy points. He doesn't run anymore. Earlier in his career, he was a guy that would get you 5-6 rushing touchdowns a year, and he doesn't run anymore. Like, so he's not a guy that's going to get you kind of cheap rushing touchdowns. Anything can happen. It's fluky, but the fact of the matter is that I don't have a ton of confidence in them becoming a high-octane offense. I think they're going to run. Well, right, because it's a few things, right? First off, they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Sure. They don't need to get into shootouts because, like, they're going to stop other teams. They want to run the ball. Mike McCarthy has come out and said that. By the way, not a Mike McCarthy fan. By the way, I mean, you know this, right? I mean, So, like, I don't think you're going to have a high pace of play. He doesn't run anymore. To me, he's a much bigger name than fantasy producer. So, like, you're counting on, look, I think my boy Eights, I think he has a big game. You know, CeeDee Lamb and I, of course, really tight.
Never
call him
going away.
Eights. The addition of Brandon Cooks helps, right? And you've got Gallup another year removed from the injury. But I think they're going to be run heavy, and I think they're going to be one of the lower teams in terms of pace of play. So he doesn't run, and he's going to have fewer possessions.
Just think he rolls out of bed to 4,200 passing yards and 33 touchdowns, and it's just rock solid. All right, well, Dak Prescott and Michael Thomas are my guys, and you're against them.
So what are your numbers? 42
No,
and
let's have like an 8
I'll take the under on both those numbers you just threw out there.
Okay, both of them. It's parlay.
Is it a
it's parlay. They both have to hit.
You know what? I'll still do that.
Yeah,
So
parlay.
4,235 touchdowns,
I
right?
said 32.
I think he said 32-35 is what he
Nice
said.
switch up at the end.
Yeah.
33 and a half.
33 and a half.
Okay.
That's fine.
In the
There you
middle.
go. Mark it down. Somebody mark it down. I'm going to eat for like a week and a half. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make him take me to an Outback Steakhouse.
Ah, there we go.
That's what I'm going to do.
And really prop him up to the waiter.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't want him to ruin my Applebee's experience because I love Applebee's.
Right.
So I'm going to make him go somewhere that's, you know, Australia, fake Australian. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the, autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.